Good morning. Blessed full moon, everyone. I'm just gonna take a moment to ground. If you guys want to join me, grab some incense and just bring it to your body. Hi Margie, happy Sunday. I'm so happy to see you are here today. Hi Lilith. I missed you all last Sunday. Whew. It's been a doozy of a full moon, has it not? Do I look a bit blurry today? Is there something going on with my camera? Maybe that's better. Thank you for the rose and the gifts, you guys. Thank you for hearting the live. Aw, Aries, thanks for being here. I missed you all last Sunday. So how has the full moon been treating you guys? You want to put a word in the chat? Hi, Susan, Laura, Elena. Actually, someone's asking how to make your backyard feel more enchanted. If you go and sign up, there's a link in my bio for the Weaving Magic magazine, and in there I give you all kinds of ideas on how to honor Samhain, Beltane. It's not Samhain, it's Beltane here in the Northern Hemisphere. So in there I have directions on how to make a fairy garden. If you guys If you guys follow my Instagram, I actually have been out in my fairy garden a lot this week. So, oh, the grandbaby. I went to see our grandbaby. My stepdaughter had a little boy a few months back. He's 9 weeks, well, he's 10 weeks old now, but we went to see him. He's a little sweetheart. So that was a good trip. But as far as the Fae go, I have a lot out there right now on the Fae. So the Fae are not who most of us think they are. And so, I mean, every different culture has their concepts of who the Fae is. I have a blog out right now on the Fae and their origins and why we see them as little, like a little tiny fairy like this, right? This is what we think the Fae are, but I believe originally they were like you or I. Oh, I love that. I've never seen this one. Beautiful. Thank you, Marjorie. Hi, Jonathan from Boston. So go check out my blog, the Weaving Magic magazine, Beltane version. Actually shares a lot on the relationship between the witches and the Fae. So there is a long history between witches and the Fae, and I believe most witches do have and might have a lot of Fae blood in you. And yes, it is, I do believe it's more than myth that who we see as the Fae procreated with humans. Because the Fae weren't always perceived as these tiny little cute little, you know, this big little women with wings floating around. They originally were actually a race of beings, the Tuatha De Danann. I struggle to say that word, Tuatha De Danann. Anyway, I share more about this race of beings that was said to come over into Ireland, and some people say they came in this cloud, this dark cloud. Other people say they came over on a ship and the ship was covered in a dark cloud, and they proceeded to battle in Ireland to take over Ireland. Eventually, they were taken over and forced underground, and that's why we see them coming out during certain times of the year. And part of the reason I believe we see them as little beings is because of Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Night Dream, portraying them as little beings. So, yeah. So the Tuatha, I do believe they were known as the fair ones, right? And so when I go read the blog, it actually it kind of walks you down that path, or at least the path I took of better understanding who the Fae are. So if you look at through Strega or even Welsh witchcraft, they see the Fae as the spirits of the plants. And, whatever way you believe, all witches, we all have our own way of seeing the world and the world of the craft, and no way is right or wrong. And here's the thing, all of our history was wiped out by Christianity. So we only have so much to go off of. And a lot of what is folklore, we have to remember, is folklore. It's the lore that was passed down through the people. Not all folklore is speaking directly to witchcraft, but most witches are practicing some sort of folklore because we lean on the pagan ways. And when I say the pagan ways, I mean before Christianity, if that makes sense. So we see paganism as kind of like polytheism, almost like it's a religion now, when in the past it was like when there was the conversion of Christianity, there was this differentiation between who were the people going with the new way, the new church, the new belief system, and that was Christianity, and those that who still believed in the ways of old, the myths, following the wheel of the year, the gods, the goddesses, and the mythology, and they were considered to be the pagans. So pagan actually refers to a time period before the conversion of Christianity. And those ways were living by common folklore of the time. It was living by the wheel of the year. So really, like pinning or nailing down, this is who a witch is and this is what a witch is, it's really hard to do. We have a lot of Wiccans turning their noses up at solitary witches, and then there's a lot of solitaries that are turning their noses up at Wiccans. I've heard a lot of a lot of solitaries say, I won't cast a circle because it's from Wicca. And actually, if you research, and this is my big thing in the craft, is that we all need to search. And we need to search and continue to search and continue to explore and do it with an open mind and without an attachment to this is the way things are. And the reason I say that is because we have such a elusive history because it was all destroyed, right? So why would solitaries say, I'm not going to cast a circle because it's Wiccan? Because when you research back, actually one of the oldest times we see a circle being used is in the Egyptian temples. And so I really, I know we don't really know how they were casting those circles. The one thing we do know is that one of the practices there was that a priest would take what we now see as an altar broom and sprinkle water around the circle and use that actual altar broom to clear that circle. Hi, Rebecca. And so when solitaries say that it's Wiccan to cast a circle, I'm like, I don't think it's just Wiccan. And the thing is I don't have a lot of hard feelings towards the Wiccans. I believe they actually were trying to preserve the craft. And so because of that, I have a lot of honor and respect for them, because the fact is that us solitary witches, like how far are we going to be able to get our craft? Like, because they're a structured religion, they are an actual belief system, where for us solitaries, we are going to have to pass this to other people that are like-minded or to our children and hope that those records continue to be passed down. So, that is part of why I continue to show up the way I do. I hope to one day write a book, because the solitary witch is rebelling against patriarchy, even in a way that Wicca isn't, because we are refusing to conform to needing to have a structured belief system. And that is part of why I chose to be a solitary witch rather than to conform to Wicca. But I have a lot of great respect for Wicca and what they do. So it's not like Wicca just pulled this stuff out of their ass when they were creating it. I do believe there's origins in everything they were pulling from. And the thing is that we can look back for the oldest witch, but really written record of the oldest witch is in the Bible. So I believe originally the Bible was actually full of pagan stories. And because they changed it to fit the patriarchal narrative to convert everyone to Christianity, we'll never know what was originally in that Bible. And because of that, and because of all the widespread Christianity and hate of the witch, we have so many people that have preconceived notions about what the craft is. And that's, you know, pop culture witchcraft is actually lending to that. And so it is my heart and desire to give some footing and ground through what I share to differentiate the people out there that are like, I love crystals, I'm a witch. I bought a deck of tarot cards, I'm a witch. It's like, have you ever cast a circle? Have you ever honored a Sabbath? Because a huge part of who a witch is honoring those pagan ways, honoring the ways of life to the best of our ability that were before the conversion of pagan Europe into Christianity, into Christians. So this is a big topic to talk about. And, you know, when you really look at it, it's like, is folklore witchcraft? You know, I can on one hand say like, yeah, I kind of do think folklore is witchcraft. But then again, it's not, because a lot of folklore, like using corn dollies, is pagan, meaning all the people of that time before the conversion of pagan Europe were using corn dollies. Now, the poppet is also in origins folklore, right? We see voodoo dolls, but that's voodoo. Is voodoo witchcraft? This is a question I've been asking me, because a lot of us see voodoo queens, voodoo practitioners as witches, but have they ever called themselves a witch? I don't think they do, but I'm exploring that right now. And thank you, Max Joy. I love exploring these things because I do believe that voodoo is a closed practice. It is originally an African way of being. They're African magic, let's put it that way. And when the slaves were brought over from Africa, the way that they kept their magic alive was to change the spirits that they utilized into being the archangels. And so now we have Christianity melded in with voodoo, and we call that hoodoo. And it's like, okay, like, is that witchcraft? Because even though a lot of the stuff they do is what witches do, I really believe witchcraft is more, originally the word witch is European. And so I do believe the European version of a witch in Africa was a voodoo priestess or a voodoo queen. And then like maybe in Siberia, that would be considered a shaman. In Native American, it would be considered a medicine woman. Like, I believe all these titles are lending title or definition to a similar race of beings, if that makes sense. But because the conversion of pagan Europe became so widespread, it went beyond pagan Europe and across the entire planet, now we've lost the potency of who a witch is. Because I do believe to some extent, witches are a race of beings. And you know, that's not to say that you can't learn to be a witch, because I feel like even people's call or draw to be a witch could speak to that it's in their bloodline. Now, the interesting thing about that topic is then how do we differentiate who in the mainstream, because everybody's yelling I'm a witch, especially the women out there. Like all of a sudden, you know, what I would have been like demonized for even 5 years ago on social media, now everyone loves me for that. And so now all those people that were like, don't call yourself a witch, are now calling themselves a witch. Are they really a witch? And here's the thing, all humans are psychic. All humans have the ability to be mediums. All humans have the ability to be psychic. And yet to some of us, there is this natural ability to do these things. It's like you're born doing them. And some people don't awaken to the fact that they have these abilities until later on. Not all psychics are witches. Not all pagans are witches. Witches, I mean, one of the things that we do that differentiates us is that we co-create with the earth. So we practice earth-based magic. We are casting spells. We are weavers of magic. So there's that. And then there is this great honor and reverence and communion that a witch has with the elements. And so, you know, we have spells going out on TikTok right and left, and people are just grabbing onto these spells and doing them, and then it becomes folklore. So really it's up to us to define who a witch is, and that's what I'm getting at. I'm not here to tell you, are you a witch, or who is a witch and who isn't, and all of that. It's like, only you know that. But I will tell you, myself as a witch, I eat, breathe, and sleep the craft. Even if I go 8 weeks or a year without casting a spell, the craft is still interwoven into every aspect of who I am and my life. And I believe that shows, you know. It's like there's this, you know, I've heard people refer to it like your witch light. And your witch light glows through your eyes, and people can see that and feel it. Yes, witches are sovereign beings. We are choosing to be sovereign in a codependent world, because that's what I do believe we can see historically that the witches were doing. You know, witches did what other people might perceive as boring. You know, like I spent a lot of my week this week sitting outside with these mice in my fairy garden. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, I've put a few stories up of these mice. I first realized there was just one mouse, and I would call him Mousy Mouse, and I'd go sit out there, and, you know, I realized he was eating my bird food, and the birds weren't coming around. So I was like, oh, the mouse is eating the bird food, right? My husband's like, well, we're gonna end up with a problem because mice multiply. Well, now I've realized I do probably have over, I want to whisper this so my husband doesn't hear, but I do think there's over 10. And of course I would never kill them. I don't even want to rehome them is the thing. But I even believe like that is the part of me that is the witch, the one that will sit outside for hours on end in my fairy garden, laying there and talking to these mice. And what's interesting is when we have things like this show up in our life, like mice, that's a sign. So we're so attached to what signs should look like that sometimes we miss the sign. Like we think our signs should look like everyone else's signs. And a lot of times, you know, like us witches, like we want the raven to be the sign, right? And a raven has been the sign for me several times. However, for me right now, the mouse is the sign. And so I invite you guys to release that attachment of what the signs are that are coming in for you, because they're there. We've had spirit guides our entire lives. We actually have a team of spirits that are and ancestors, working with us from the other side. And there are certain things we need to see specifically for us. And it's not gonna look like the witchiest thing in the world, right? Do you ever see a witch with a mouse? No, I don't think I've ever seen an image of a witch with a mouse. But guess what? Right now in what's real in my life is that the mouse is teaching me something, you know, and as I sit out there, you know, Margie's is a vulture. it's gonna look different for each of us, and that's why I can't tell you what the sign is gonna be for you. But just a black car, interesting. Oh, black cat. A black cat is usually what you see a witch with, maybe even an owl or a bird, but a mouse, no. But you know, at first I was just like, oh my gosh, so cute, I have one mouse. And then daily, you know, I'm like, okay, I can't put like bags of birdseed out there because these mice are gonna keep expanding, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna put bags of birdseed out there. Obviously, the birds aren't eating them, the mice are. And if you look at the ground, actually, I know the mice have been there for probably a year. Because when I made the fairy garden last year, shortly after that, I started noticing the ground was raised, and I told my husband, I think we have a groundhog, because there's like these areas where the ground is raising behind where the fairy garden is. Well, now I realize the mice have been living in those mounds. So, and they have this whole tunnel system behind my fairy garden. It actually, I have like this big like ceramic cat, and they have dug a hole under the ceramic cat to where they'll like pop in one side of the cat and out the other side. But these mice are smart, you guys. When I go out there and I say, hey, mousy mouse, they come out. They peek their little heads. They know my voice, and they know they're safe with me. When my husband or my son are out there, not as many of them come out. And I think, you know, they are smart. Animals are so smart, and there's so much we can learn from them. And so when I realized they were multiplying, I was like, wow, like these mice are here to teach me something. Like they've been here for a while. It's been like a couple years ago, I heard an owl in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, Hecate's here. Why would we ever have an owl? And I still believe that was Hecate, but I wondered because our trees weren't growing at that time. Like it was really a new area we were in. So I now wonder, because there was a time I had a bag of birdseed out there and there was a hole in it. So I think the mouse started on the other side of the house, and yeah, owls eat mice. So maybe that's why the owl was here. And obviously at that time, the owl was speaking to me, and the owl can be something traditionally a witch would tune into as a sign. But the invitation for you this week that has been present for me is that it's showing up in ways that are not witchy. It's gonna show up how it shows up to teach you something. And there's actually a lot out there on, you know, when you Google spiritual meaning of mouse, which I had to do because I only know a little bit about mouse, and that mouse is learning to trust. Well, I opened up a whole can of worms and ended up reading forever about the mouse and how the mouse is like spiritually teaching you. So do you guys, have you noticed through this time period of this eclipse, like, can you look back and see like how something may have shown up in your life that wasn't there before? That yours is a honeybee. That's a perfect example. So yeah, there was it last year or the year before? There were, my friend Jade was like, Harmony, every time I'm talking to you, there's a bee. And I was like forever like giving the bees like sugar water to get them flying and going. It happened at work. I got one out of the salon, and it happened in my backyard. And so I believe at that time the bee was speaking to me. Spider, yes, grandmother spider is like such a sign. But again, that feels more witchy, right? And what I'm getting at is that there's many signs out there for us. And I believe they're really strong right now, really potent, because this year astrologically is such a powerful year, and we are being invited to like slow down this year and to really turn inward. There's going to be things that are meant to shake the earth beneath us. So does that mean that we float up and out and disassociate? That seems to be what overwhelm does to people. It makes us want to disembody. But yet in the year of the wood snake, we are being invited to come back down to the earth. Like the way we will make it through this year is to get down to the earth. And I feel like that was part of the message from Mouse to me, was that I needed to be on the earth. And that is what I was doing, you know, I still am doing. Yesterday I spent probably an hour out there sitting with the mice and just talking to them. Hi, Kelly. And you know, just being on the ground and touching the earth and watching them navigate their little world, watching them hear my voice and pop up. And you know, most mice are blind. I know not all mice are blind, but they have a hard time seeing, and so they really depend on their other senses to navigate their world. And I realized that is the message that was trying to come into me through spirit, was that I need to focus less on what I'm seeing and more on what I'm feeling and what I'm sensing. Does that make sense, you guys? Like, you know, there's a lot we're seeing out there that is not true. And because I'm holding retreats this year and I have people coming from out of the country, I'm like trying to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on to know if it's safe here or not, because there's a lot of stuff out there saying people aren't safe to travel to the US. Now, there's a difference between being safe to travel to the US and not wanting to support the US while our president is doing what he's doing. There's a total difference. But I also realized through sitting with the mouse, I was watching a lot of information, and I was really needing to get down to the ground and trust my senses. And the more of us that are getting down on the ground and connecting to the earth, connecting to the wood snake energy, we are being invited to slow down and rest and learn to navigate our life through our other senses other than what we are seeing. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense here. You know, a gift of the feminine is the ability to work with our senses. And there are more senses available to us humans than we are paying. You know, most of the sense we use is the sense of seeing and hearing. And I feel like when we are grounded, then we are sensing with the ability to feel. So we're tapping into that sixth sense by grounding ourselves. And that's what the wood snake is like, trying to get us to come back down to the earth. To that, like, can you be aware? You know, like I think of that, the mice, and they come out and they're looking, they're perceiving. I can see, they can see something. Maybe I wonder, am I a shadowy image? What am I to them? But then I see their little ears twitch and their nose twitch, and they're smelling, and their ears are sensing, like, what is the energy I'm here with? And that's what we need to be doing, you guys. And a lot of us cannot tell the difference between our intuition and our brain. And I can tell you, your intuition will never feel like fear. It may tell you not to get on an airplane. It may tell you not to go on a boat. It may tell you not to get in a relationship, but it's not going to come in and make you feel like you feel when you're standing toe to toe with a lion, right? That fear that arises in you, that's not intuition. That is your ego trying to protect you. And it's job, right? That's your instinctual response. You should fear the lion. But because of the witch wound in our DNA, we are fearing things that don't need to be feared. And we're also seeing how easily manipulated we are. If you turned off the news, If you didn't go on social media for 1 week, you didn't listen to the radio, there was no outside noise, how would you feel? Would you feel overwhelmed in the world we live now? And I'm not saying, be oblivious to what's going on in the world, of course. Like, I do believe we need to be educated on what's going on, because even if it's not right in our town right now or in our direct reality, eventually it will get to us, just like the burning times. Like, it started in Europe and it ended up worldwide, right? So, and we're seeing that happen right now. But I do believe we are hyper fixated on social media, on the news, on the radio, on the internet, reading, Googling what's going on in the world. And that is giving us this sense of overwhelm, this sense of being disassociated. So energy is a real thing, you guys. And the more of us that are feeling disassociated and in fear are lending to the energetic strength of what we don't want. And that is why the wood snake is here. Like, have you even thought about the wood snake since January, when everybody was like, oh, it's the Lunar New Year, the year of the wood snake? Nope. Most of us are not thinking about that. So I am inviting you to come back to that again and again this year, because it's not just in January that affects us. It's the wood snake is weaving its way close to the earth, up the trees and around. It is navigating this world really low to the ground, which to me is like, this entire year there needs to be a focus on grounding and not attaching to everything that's so up and out, right? Which is hard because we just came from the year of the dragon, which was like, wow, like the energy was so up and out, right? And then now we're like, bam, we got thrown back down to the earth, and everybody's like, what's going on? Like, I can't handle this. Like, I can't handle the reality of what's happening. You can handle it. The thing is that we get addicted to watching and looking at the same things. And so we need to remember that we all have an agenda or narrative that we like in this reality. And so we'll continue to watch things that feed that narrative that we believe. But we need people with beginner minds that can go and look and see and perceive all sides, because all sides are being manipulated in some sense, in some way, shape, or form. We are not as easy to manipulate as a whole when we are grounded. When we are disembodied in fear, we're gonna run right, like it's like the horror movie where the girl's like, I'm scared, and she runs away and ends up being killed. And it's like, okay, you're like, you can see it so perfectly in horror movies. Like they choose the stupid route because of fear. And that is what is being utilized right now against us. And they've used it before. They've used it, the patriarchy used it to kill women. Hi, Tara. That is how, and men and dogs and cats, and mice, that is interesting, because I'm talking about mice, and, mice are, I don't believe mice carry as much disease as we believe they do. I believe that, the disease that the mice carried back in the day were due to the hygiene of the people, which wasn't directly related to the mice. But there were like so many things being demonized at that time: mice, cats, women, dogs, like everybody, right? And that's kind of happening right now. They're trying to erase history. It is scary what's going on. But if you turn it all off, if you turn the noise off, are you okay? Chances are you probably are. So it's like, can you live your life aware of what's going on but allowing what you feel to be your guide. So that's just, there's ominous astrology all year. At the midpoint of the year in June, I believe around June, we don't know what's going to happen. We never know astrologically how things are going to turn out. When we went into 2020, it was like anyone that looked at astrology knew something, the earth beneath us was going to get shook. And, in a way, the same thing is happening this year. But our perception of what is happening is dictating what we are feeling and how we're living our life. So again, I remind you, like, ground yourself, learn some grounding practices, or, find some. For me, it's been sitting outside with the mice and just watching them. Maybe for you, it's walking barefoot in the park. It's gonna look different for all of us, but there needs to be more time daily that you are disconnected from social media, from the news, from the radio, from Google, from the computer. Because when you disconnect from everything, you come back to your center. That's where your magic is. I feel like I've been talking a lot lately about how the magic isn't in the wand, the magic isn't in the cauldron, the magic isn't in the besom, the magic is in the witch that is working with those items. So you can have people going out and buying all the witchiest items they want, and I love them, so I'm not saying don't go buy your witchy items, but the power is within you. And the way that we utilize that power within us is to disconnect from all the BS in the world. And when you disconnect, then you tap into that power. Then you realize, oh, I actually have the power to change some things here. I have actually the power to be part of the solution. When I am disassociated, when I am feeling anxiety, is it because of what is happening in my reality, or is it because of what I'm seeing go on in the world outside of me? And that's not to say, this full moon has been, it feels like I've been navigating all of this stuff going on in my head, which is very Libra. I'm a Libra rising, and untangling it before I allow it to come out of me. So I've been watching the thoughts and the way I perceive other people's actions and what their actions mean for me and how I want to react. And then sitting with that and asking myself, is the way I'm being triggered to react actually truth, or is it the wound? And this weekend, a lot of wounds have been being triggered. So I feel like the wounds are triggered, but not without guidance. And so that's why I started by talking about the signs, is because the signs are there to support you through what it is you're navigating. And so when you pause before you react and do something, then it allows you to move through something that may have been chaotic if you chose to react rather than to pause and respond. So I feel like that is a constant choice for us right now, to pause. And I feel like that's why what the wood snake is inviting us to do is to ground ourselves, because there's going to be a lot of tactics used on us to try to disembody us, because when we are in fear and disembodied, the powers that control the planet have more power over us. So the biggest act of rebellion is, I am not going to allow you to scare me. I am not going to allow fear to rule my life. I am going to live my life regardless of what the world is feeding me. Does that make sense? So well, the pink moon was actually yesterday. We're still in the influence of the pink moon, which the pink moon is just referring to all the pink flowers that are blossoming this time of year. That's why they call it the pink full moon, is because of all the growth that is happening. So it's happening, all of this growth is happening through the triggers. So releasing, clearing, letting go, use some flower water to cleanse yourself. Okay, feel like any ritual of release. I mean, we're still technically in the eclipse season for a couple more weeks, and then we'll be officially out of it. And we'll be also out of all the retrogrades, which they've stationed direct, I believe, both Venus and Mercury. Well, actually, did Mercury station direct? I know Venus, was it Venus did on the 12th? Anyway, even after they stationed direct, we have the after shade, the retro shade, they call it. And so we're still navigating, integrating those lessons in the next 2 weeks. So all of the lessons that have come up in the last month and a half is they're gonna be integrated. So ego death, good and bad and why. So I guess it depends on how you define an ego death. I don't believe in killing the ego, because the ego is an intricate part of being human. I believe that transforming, rewiring the ego is a good thing, but I am not one that's like, we need to kill the ego. Because if there was no ego, there would be no brain, right? You would be like a Alzheimer patient that is sitting in a chair perceiving life instinctually, rather than having a mind that is co-creating. And it's just, the ego has been so demonized because the ego has tried to protect us. So it's almost like, you know, we have this perception of our ego that it's bad, and it's not bad. The ego's your personality. It's who you are. And so if your ego is jealous, if your ego is in fear, if your ego is scared, it's because there's a wounded child inside of you that has not been healed. So are you going to go kill the child? Are you going to kill the past? No. You need to go back and heal it so that the ego can come into alignment, because as adults, we have egos that are protecting us from things that happened when we were children. And it will continue to try to protect us from those same wounds by triggering us. It will try to heal us. And we are not cooperating. We need integrated egos, not death of the ego. So do you guys have any questions for me? What does it mean to be a solitary witch? So it is defining that there is the religion of witchcraft, which the religion of witchcraft is Wicca. And within Wicca, they have a high priest, a high priestess, and usually you are part of a coven. A solitary witch is referring to a witch that practices on her own, meaning without a high priest or priestess, and it's just their practice. Whatever that looks like, you are practicing solitary, like by yourself. I am a solitary witch. However, I have a virtual coven that's only happened the last year and a half. And my virtual coven is very structured for solitary witches because I don't want to tell anyone how to witch. I am a teacher, a guide, a mentor, and so I have classes I teach, but even in those classes, I'm encouraging you to develop your own craft. We all have different DNA, different blood that is coursing through our veins, connected to different cultures, that is going to determine our natural interests and draws and passions to different aspects of the craft. So as a mentor, teacher, and a guide, I am not saying like this is how you be a witch, but I am teaching you and giving you these basics that you need to go out there and flourish as a solitary witch. I also hold retreats so that us solitary witches can come together in a coven and celebrate community and feel that power of sisterhood. My passion is gathering with women. That is my service to the goddess. So originally, witchcraft is goddess worship. I usually don't use the word worship, but that historically is the word that they use. I consider it honoring the goddess as creator and source. And through the craft, if you are a priestess, there is a service, a way that you offer your service to the goddess, which ultimately the goddess lives within you. So it's kind of like your service to yourself. But when I was initiated, my service was to help women heal trauma, from the witch wound, through trauma, through sexual trauma, through the sister wound, like healing, helping women heal, guiding women to heal. So that's why you see all of my videos are only women. That's because that is my service to the goddess. There is we get so confused on what type of witch am I, because we see all this stuff on social media that's like, are you a cottage witch? Are you a this witch or that witch? And it's like there's many traditions out there, but none of them are being spoken about, because we're talking about all the surface level pop culture-y, what type of witch are you, a cottage witch, when really that's just an aesthetic. The actual versions of the craft would have been labeled something more like, do you practice like Gardnerian? Do you practice Strega? Do you practice Celtic witchcraft? Do you practice Welsh witchcraft? Do you practice, oh my gosh, I just lost the word. I was talking about the Dianic tradition. So there is a tradition connected to Italy that's Dianic, and usually that tradition is all women. I don't consider myself Dianic. I just consider myself a witch. To me, a witch is a witch is a witch. But I have that same philosophy that a lot of Dianic witches do, that women, there really is the healing of women that need to happen. I do believe that women are going to change the face of the world, because we have been oppressed for far too long. Women as a whole, doesn't matter what color you are, the feminine energy and women have been oppressed, and us rising into our power, it looks like, this is where like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm a feminist, but not like your typical feminist, because I actually like men to open the door for me. If I were dating a woman, I would like a woman to open the door for me. I like that type of chivalry, maybe you call it, but the music is distracting me. It's there, until we heal the sister wound, until us women can come into right relation with one another, we aren't going to rise. So you can see all these videos you want out there on social media saying women are going to heal the world, we are going to be who saves the world, and that's great. I believe the same thing. But we are not going to be able to do it until we come in right relation with each other. And that's why I feel it is so important for us to gather together in good ways. Now, this doesn't mean that all women's circles you see are going to be good for you. In fact, I've heard recently that there's a lot of women's circles out there that are very toxic. And so it's like, damn, how do we do this in this illusion that we are living in? It's like you can look at social media and see something and feel totally moved by it, like, yeah, this is for me, and then you go there and nobody talks to you because you're a woman of color. That's something I've heard. And it's like, fuck, how do you know when you're watching? We have to be in touch with our intuition. That's how we know. But how do we get in touch with our intuition when we're all so damn wounded? And so there needs to be a focus on healing yourself so that you can trust yourself. And that's part of what the mouse has been speaking to me this week, is that the more I heal, the more I can trust myself. Every step I take in the right direction. And for me, this full moon was hard. It shook a lot of wounds in me personally around relationships, and not just relationships with the opposite sex, or like a romantic relationship, I should say, because not everyone is in a romantic relationship with an opposite sex. But it's not just around romantic relationships. It's around relationships with family, relationships with children, relationships with parents, relationship with friends, and a lot of this I found, like, I would see something actually on social media and it literally felt like it would cripple me. And I'm like, why am I responding to this way? Why am I feeling so hurt by this? And I really sat with that, and I sat outside with the mice and I let myself cry. And it was like, what I was crying over, it was like, this person isn't trying to hurt my feelings. I know that. Logically, I have done enough healing to know when the wound is triggered. And it's like, it got triggered and I wanted to go to that. My heart is broken. And that made me want to reach out to my friend and say, my heart is broken. This person did this to me. And instead of having that reaction, I went and sat with the mice. And I am tired of crying too. Fuck. I'm so tired of crying. I'm a Cancer Pisces. My whole freaking life is tears. It's whether I'm happy or sad or whatever it is, I cry. Anything that emotionally moves me. But I went and sat with the mice, and I realized, like, by not reaching out to my friend and saying, this person did this to me and it's breaking my heart, and instead I realized, like, it was the feeling of rejection. And I think a lot of us witches have that wound of rejection because we are different. And when you are different, it makes it a little more, it makes it a little harder to connect with the people around you, because there is something in us that it feels good to be able to be around people of like mind, because then there's no part of you that's hiding. There's no part of you that is afraid of being judged and perceived wrong. And so this full moon, I believe, has been bringing up all of those old wounds around relationships, whether it's rejection, whatever it might be for you. It's the energy around how relationships have affected you. And for me, at the end of the day, like, all of my relationship wounds come from my childhood, come from being raised in a religion where my reality wasn't the reality of those around me. So my reality was denied all the time, left, right, center. Like, I was being told the way I thought, the way I believed, the way I wanted to eat was not allowed to be, which made me reject me. And so it's like, at the end of the day, even though it began with my parents and with the church, what resulted from that was me rejecting myself. And so as I sat with the mice, I realized I am feeling like I am rejecting myself. So it was like that old wound. And I'm much more authentic than I ever have been my whole life. Like, I am fully 100% out of the broom closet. Yet those wounds can still be triggered by people around me in relationships where it's like, I'm feeling that sense of rejection by people who I think are supposed to love me, right? And why it hurts when people reject you. Like, I was spending a lot of time like thinking about that. You know, even my son came over, he was talking to me about, you know, feeling rejection from not passing a test, feeling that like, oh, I didn't do enough. Like, there's so many different levels of rejection. But he was also telling me a friend of his was questioning my posts, specifically the post where it shows the pentacle in my backyard with the snow. And so he was like, your mom has a pentacle in her backyard. Doesn't that scare you? And, you know, my son's response was actually quite comical. I had to educate him on what a pentacle is. And just so you guys know, I need to do a post on this, but so that it's out there. But a pentacle, a pentagram, first of all, a pentagram is a star. A pentacle, a 5-pointed star. A pentacle is a 5-pointed star with a circle around it. The pentacle only represents the weaving of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and the circle represents protection. So what is satanic and demonic about that? I do not know, but my son's friend told him that, you know, it was satanic and made him uncomfortable. And my son was like, my mom's house is like all white. And I'm like, that was your response? I had to laugh to myself. I'm like, why does my house being white? Well, because your house is white, like, you're not creepy. I'm like, so if my house was all black, I would be creepy? Well, you'd definitely be perceived more creepy. And I was just like, so because I wear all black and I have a pentagram in my backyard, I scare people. So does that show you guys like the programming in our society? It's comical. Like, instead of that guy asking my son, what does that pentacle in your mom's backyard mean? He's just telling him it's scary because I'm worshiping Satan. I told my son already knows that I don't believe in the devil. But, you know, what is interesting, my son, he's a first responder. He recently went on a really bad car accident where the child he worked on didn't make it, and it really broke his heart. And he's struggling with that. And so his friends are, I mean, where we live, everyone's Christian. So his friends actually have been bothering him to go to church. So he went to church. So he came over to my house yesterday and says, I went to church with my friends. I hope you're not mad at me. And I said, no, I'm not mad at you. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. Like, you know, it wouldn't be my choice for you to be a Christian, but if that's who you are, I respect it. Like, you're a grown man. You get to do what you want. I raised my children without any belief system, not even to believe in the craft. Now, there are some ways that we just lived our lives that kind of, I think, were ingrained in them, but I never told them they had to be a witch. I do believe they are by bloodline, but I never made them do what I do, if that makes sense, because I was raised in a church, and it was like, you know, my mom would say the words like, you don't have to be Mormon. Like, you can be whatever you want to be. But there was this unspoken expectation that you be Mormon. So, like, that's what we had to do. I never wanted to put that expectation on my children to be what I wanted them to be. Now, he said he went to church. He said there was a good message there, but he said he felt anxiety the whole time he was there. He said, I felt like almost like I couldn't breathe, like there was a weight on my chest. And I was like, oh, really? So he's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be going back. I don't know how that helps them. I know they all go to church when we have a bad call and it makes them feel better. It did not make me feel better. So, you know, part of me was like, whew, thank God. But, you know, I don't want to have to navigate one of my children being Christian. But I mean, they are their own people, and I am not going to tell them who to be because that's what was done to me. So that means accepting them for whoever they are. You know, one of my stepdaughters is Christian. Her mom is Christian. And so, you know, that's their choice. I am very against Christianity as a whole, but I also, that doesn't mean I hate Christians. You know, that would be like the people who are Christian hating witches, or, you know what I mean? Like, I think Christians are more evil than witches myself. Hi, Erin. I haven't seen you in the comments, but I see your little hearts popping up. I see you guys. I love that you guys are all like chat. I love seeing all the chatting. I can't read them all because they're flashing by as I'm talking, but I love that. Your neighbors walked around the corner as you were calling in your circle and he slowly backed up. It's like, seriously, you know, I was talking to my husband about this last night. Like, Christians don't realize how actually rational, I would say, if you took a science-minded person and told them this is what witchcraft is and this is what Christianity is, I think witchcraft is much more logical. Like, we are honoring the elements, which, mind you, the elements are real. They are, earth is real, fire is real, water is real. I mean, I guess you could debate if our spirit is real, but energy is real and our spirit is energy. So I would say spirit's real too. So what were we working with? When we're casting a spell, we're just using things that are on the earth to manifest a desire. That is no different than people creating a light bulb. Like, they were working with different, you know, ingredients per se to make light, right? So we end up with a light bulb. Like, spell work is no different than any other form of creating. But Christianity is about honoring a guy in the sky that's an old man that has a beard, and he judges us and he hates us, and sometimes he loves us. But you know who he loves most? This other guy in the sky. He loved this one person with one of his children. He loved them more than everyone else. The rest of us are just shit because, you know, this one person he loved. But he loved that person so much that, you know what? He had to be killed. He had to die. He had to die because all of us are sinners. Like, do you realize how irrational that sounds? So I love my son so much that I'm going to go hang him on this cross. And by him doing that, all the rest of you get to live and go to heaven. I'm like, that is the most bizarre crap that I have ever heard in my life. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry if that's offensive to you. I realize I should say that's offensive to you. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not even sorry. I'm not sorry. Like, let's be real here. You're going to pick apart what I do and call me evil, yet I can't share how I see what you're believing is more woo than anything a witch believes. Witches believe in deities, but they realize that these deities are archetypal images that exist within us. Some of them actually walked the earth and other ones didn't. And most witches are well grounded enough to realize that, yes, some of them actually lived and other ones are archetypes that actually created an energy around them that we can call upon because of the belief system that people had around them. But we aren't out there trying to gain other people to believe like us. Like right now, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm just telling you how I see the world. And if you see the world like me, maybe you're on the live with me. Thank you for the gifts, you guys. Thank you for the hearts on the live. Send me all the hearts, please. Doesn't cost you anything to send the hearts. I do appreciate your gifts so much. And I just like to give you guys a different way of looking at things, you know, and this conversation with my son really like sparked like this like reality of how unrational and illogical, is that a word? Illogical, not logical Christianity is, yet the powers that are ruling our world look at it like it is law. Like, we are bad for not believing there's a man in the sky. Like, that is woo. I am sorry. That is woo. Witchcraft is not woo. Witchcraft is real. Thank you, you guys. Thank you for the gifts. Yes, because a true creator would never sacrifice. Are you a parent? Parents do not have favorite children. And yet the Christian church is like, our God likes this guy enough. And his favorite, he killed his favorite. And he killed his favorite for us. First of all, why does someone have to die if I do something bad? How is that going to change anything for me? So are you saying if I went out and killed somebody, just because that guy over there you liked a lot died 6,000 years ago, however many years ago it was, now I don't have to do any healing or anything? Like, the craziness, you can see the shame and the guilt. Like, we are all the shitty people. It is this one guy that he loved, that he killed, mind you, and killed in a very gruesome way, had to hang on a cross. And we, like, for whatever reason, because he died, now this God is like, well, because he's dead, then I can forgive you people. How does this make any rational sense? How? It doesn't make sense to me. And so when Christians are coming at me, speaking their whatever they are on my posts, I just laugh, because I'm like, how can people be so civilized, so expanded in their knowledge? We can create trains and planes and electricity and heat and air conditioning, and yet we're gonna believe all this BS? Like, how does that make sense? It's like they are taking their anger out on us. You know what? You're right. Actually, yeah. It's like they don't get what they're doing, and so they're going to spew it at us as, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they cause fear to be able to control. I don't think any of us know what the Bible said. I think the translation is inaccurate. We 100% historically can prove the Bible is not what was in the original scrolls. And I also have a blog about that. If you guys, like, there's a link in my bio. You can read all my blogs. Some of them are lighthearted about besoms. Other ones go deep about the libraries of Alexandria, about the root of the Fae. Like, go read those blogs. But yeah, I believe what was in that Bible came from the scrolls that was in the libraries of Alexandria. And those scrolls were destroyed. So we will never know what was originally in that Bible. We know that they changed it to control the people, and they controlled the people through fear. That Bible makes it sound like the whole world was Christian when the Bible was written. Those scrolls were written by people that lived during pagan times when there was no Christianity. So all of the stuff about a God being a man with a beard, that was added in there. I even believe that Mary, Mother Mary, being the mother of Jesus, being a virgin, never had sex. I believe that's not true. And it's, yeah, and the thing is we all get to believe what we want, right? I'm here sharing what I believe, but I don't go on people's posts and say, the goddess loves you. I get that all the time. God loves you. Jesus loves you. And it's like, that to me is like, they're coming up to me and being like, smacking me in the face. So it's almost like that passive aggressive, I want a confrontation. And it's like, I am not here to fight people. I'm just here to share who I am and the way that I think, because I know in this world, I feel alone a lot. And that by other people showing up, we are opening the doors for community, for connection. And I don't need you to give me your money. I don't need you to give me your tithes. Churches want you to give them your money. Gosh, why won't that come out of my mouth? So that they can keep their doors to the church open, right? I do hold events, and I have to charge for those events. Like, if you want to come stay in Sedona with me, it's like you can't go to Sedona and stay a week for free. So, you know, I get a lot of the crap for that too. Like, well, you charge, like, you know, I always say the churches need you to pay their tithes. Like, I hold retreats. If you want to go spend a week in Sedona, you have to pay for your room and your food, right? So that's what you're paying for when you come to a retreat with me. So witches are not knocking on people's doors saying, come be a witch with me. No. Yeah. It's like I'm having this conversation over here. I get like, I wish sometimes that you guys could talk with me. Like, I see you're commenting and everything, but I am like having a conversation by myself. Or they say, I pray for you. You're right, Rebecca. They'll say, I'll pray for you. You need salvation. It's like, don't pray for me. I know prayer is a spell. Like, you may not realize it, but us witches know your prayers are spells. So if I allow you to pray for me as a Christian person, you know I trust you because I realize that prayer is a spell. So by you saying someone can pray for you is like, it's a passive aggressive when they put that on my page. Like, they'll be like, when I like clap back at them, like when they say God loves you, they're like, I was just saying God loves you. This is TikTok. I can say what I want. And it's like, and you're being a passive aggressive asshole. And so you are going to get my response, which is the goddess loves you. So yeah, and I do not need salvation. I don't need saved from anything. Witches do not believe they need saving. Now, because we live in modern days, and this is something else I get, because we live in a modern world with pop culture, I'm forever getting, not all witches believe in the law of three. Not all witches believe in this. Not all witches are that. There is such a thing as Christian witchcraft. And it's like, originally, no, there wasn't. Christian witchcraft was created because you would be killed for being a witch. So they started using Bible verses as incantations. They started, you know, the people practicing voodoo started using, instead of their traditional saints, they started using the archangels and Mother Mary. Was that original to their practice? No, it wasn't. So I acknowledge that there was a time that created safety for people, but not now. Like, not now. We don't need that now. The Bible says to pray behind closed doors. Interesting. I don't believe in the Bible, but here's the thing about praying behind closed doors. A friend of mine from India, her and I have been having this conversation this week about the throat chakra and how every word we speak is a spell, right? Yet in the craft, specifically in a certain older practice where you are using the elements in Latin, those words, and there's a meaning of that word in Latin that is both simultaneously, like adere is water, nascere is air, which refers to know, right? So it's like simultaneously it is air and to know, right? And earth is tascere, and it is simultaneously earth and to be silent. So it's like in the craft, which is it? Every word we speak is a spell, or is it to remain silent? And here is what I find the duality of the craft. It reminds me of the 13 powers of the witch, which one of them is like a flip side of a coin. It even reads in the same sentence. So if you look at them sentence by sentence, the 13 powers are actually 12. But when you look at the one that's coin, where it's like to bless and to curse, they're opposite gifts, but they're from the same coin. Does that make sense? So that tascere, earth, to be silent, it's like the opposite side of the coin, as every word you speak is creating your reality. So both and are true. So if you are sitting here speaking the words over your spell, I will bring abundance to me, I will bring abundance to me, money, come to me, with the spell I summon thee. Like, you can say that all day long, but if you are pushing down in your mind, I am poor, I don't have enough money, I wish I could sign up for that retreat, I don't have money, I wish I had this, I don't have money. If you are holding, if that is the unspoken, what is in the subconscious and the unconscious mind, the energy of what is in the sub and the unconscious mind actually carries a bigger energy than the spoken word. Now, the spoken word is actually, you can do a lot with the spoken word, but it has to match the sub and the unconscious mind. So in that sense, there are times in my craft where it's like, I need to remain silent and not share what I am doing, because when you share what you are doing, you are not only opening up your energetic field to the interference of the other people's judgments around you, you are actually speaking something that isn't in a line with what is in your head, and therefore it's confusing the energy. So there's actually energetically, like when scientists measure like what's being held when you're silent, it can be a lot more expansive than when you're actually speaking. Isn't that interesting? So it's like, if you are deaf or mute and you can't speak, you can still cast a spell with your intention. And that's why you hear a lot of witches saying intent is everything. But also, I'm going to add to that healing is everything. Because you can be sitting here chanting, money, come to me, for example, or Trink of Five, ancient spirits, come alive, money thrive, money grows, spirits of the Trink of Five. Like, I can chant that all day long, but if in the back of my mind, I'm like, these stupid spirits aren't going to bring me anything, what I'm going to manifest is what's in my head, because that energy is actually so big. And we can see a perfect example of this, because what we are manifesting in our life so often is more of what we don't want, because we're pushing down what we don't want. It's like, I don't want that to happen, so I'm not going to talk about it. But you're pushing it down, which means then the ego and the mind, the way it works is it's going to draw things to you to help you heal that. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's so intricate that if you are living the life of the craft, that you are doing the healing work. If you want to have results that are in line with what your intent is, right? Now, I am not going to say that you can't cast a spell and have it work if you're unhealed, because that's not true. Like, I do believe, like, when I would curse and hex boys in high school, it would come to be because the unhealed me had so much energy shoved in my unconscious mind that it was like all this energy would be like blah, right at that person, right? So, I mean, I don't go around hexing and cursing. I generally, I have never in any of my online courses taught hexing and cursing, because I don't believe most people are in a place where they would know when is the time and when isn't the time, because so many of us are wounded. And so I don't want to be responsible for sharing with someone how to harm someone and I am not here to deem when that is appropriate for you, if that makes sense. Actually, Stella from Spirit Space Collective and I are going to be doing a class on baneful magic coming up, because neither one of us have a class out there on it, because we both feel the same way about it. There is a time and a place, and our ancestors absolutely used it. Like, they were using it so much during the witch trials that Like everybody was I believe I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people were using baneful magic, especially those that made it out of the jails and weren't burned alive because they were pissed off. So yeah, it's, thank you for the gift, She-Wolf Tarot. I do believe they absolutely were hexing and cursing. So but I believe that because your best friend hurt your feelings, are you going to hex them? Because your boyfriend cheated on you, are you going to hex them? Those are not reasons to hex and curse. So, you know, and baneful magic, it's like, it is very, what we would call gray, right? What is baneful and what isn't. I do believe that depends on the heart of the witch and where she's coming from, because I love the wings. Thank you, Marjorie. That's like my favorite. So what is in the heart of the witch determines whether her magic is baneful or not. You know, people are always like, I practice white witchcraft. I practice, are you black witchcraft? And it's like, I don't believe in black and white witchcraft. Like, I love black. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it refers to anything evil. If you say to me, are you a black witch? I'm like, does my skin look black? I'm white. But, you know, to most people, white witchcraft means you're practicing all love and light, and black magic means you're practicing baneful magic, which doesn't make sense to me. So I don't buy into that. I know it came about in like, I think it was like the 70s they started using that term. It might have been a little earlier than that, but doesn't make sense to me. I don't believe witches are neither more good or bad than any other human or any other Christian. Like, it's in your heart what determines what you're practicing. Like, I can be with a whole group of witches that are hexing someone in a way that is angry and full of bitterness and hate, and my heart be in a completely different place than theirs, and I will have a different karmic repercussion, karma meaning in the next life, not in this life, as well as energetic repercussion, which the energetic repercussion is the law of three, and also like quantum physics, like energy attracts like energy. So it's in the heart of the witch is what I'm getting at. And again, that's where the power of the witch lies, is in their heart. Now, I'm not saying anger is a bad emotion, but I do believe it will influence if you're doing, your emotion is one of the bigger contributors to your spell casting. It's not going through the emotions, it is your emotions, and your emotions are energy in motion. So your emotions, if you are like all in and it's like, you know, drink of five, ancient spirits come alive. You feel that abundance, like you can feel the money coming as like everything in you is like, yes, bring the money to me. It's mine. I've already got it. And this is what I'm going to do. Like that passion, that energy is creating like energy, surrounding you with it when everything in you is experiencing that emotion, right? So that's how you want to be casting your spells, because that energy in motion, that emotion is usually aligned with what you're thinking and feeling. So that's why I say, if you're money, come to me, or drink of five, like ancient spirits come alive, you're just like going through the motions while in your head you're like, I'm as poor as fuck. Like, you are going to manifest what the energy is. And the energy is a combination of what is going on in your head. What is coming out of your mouth is probably the least. It's what's going on in your head, because what's going on in your head determines your emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. So you get, when your head is right, in a line with what you want, everything happens. So it's like, that's why so much of my craft is focused on healing, because I knew I was a witch. I knew I could hex and curse, but could I do anything else? Like, But it was like I could hex and curse because the anger in me was so massive around what had happened to me growing up in the church, what my mother did to me, what my uncle did to me, what, this happened and that guy did this and that. And so, of course, I had all this anger built up in me. So the energy around me was like, rah. So it's like creating an energy, creating a thought process that allows your emotions to respond. And when you get those emotions to respond, then you just channel that energy into what you want. And it sounds really easy when I'm saying that, but there's a lot of us who have trouble with emotion, with acknowledging emotion. And yet emotion is such a core of how your spells are actually coming into form. So I know for me, I'm all emotion. Like my sun and moon are water signs. I'm Cancer and Pisces. Like it's like everything is an emotional response, right? Geminis can have that, like they can be such good manifestors because they are actually like, there's so much air energy coming through a Gemini. And so it's like we have to get our head wrapped around what it is we want when we're casting that spell. Because the channeling of that energy, once you realize it's the energy that is making the spell manifest, it's like so easy to channel it, to direct it at someone. So I hope I'm making sense here. I am doing well if I am your favorite witch. Rebecca, I'm so happy you're here, even though you're at work today. Margie, I'm so glad you're back. I feel like you've been gone so long. Thank you, Stardust. It's not about thinking positive, you guys. That is one of the most toxic things that is out there in spirituality. One of the most toxic things is that false positivity, that putting on the mask of everything's okay, of think positively and everything's okay. That's not how you do it. It's not about just thinking positive. That's why I say it's the healing work, and the healing work requires us to sit with the emotions that are actually there and to work with those wounds until you can clear the wound. And from there, actually allowing that emotion to be in line with what you want. Like if your goal is to go to Ireland, like if you are wounded around being able to travel or money or anything like that, you'll never be able to visualize yourself going to Ireland. So it's like the thinking positively about going to Ireland comes after you've healed the wound of all the reasons why you can't go to Ireland. Does that make sense? So I feel like I'm saying, does that make sense? Sometimes I feel like things make sense to me when I'm sharing, but they might not make sense to you. So I'm like, is this making sense? But it's like you can make dream boards and cut all the pictures out, but if you're cutting all the pictures out and gluing them on when you're like, nope, this isn't happening, I don't know where this money's coming from, you heal that by going back to your childhood and saying, I didn't have enough as a child, so now as an adult, I think there'll never be enough for me. My dad always said, well, that must be nice about people who had money. So now I think it's actually a derogatory thing to have money. So healing the wound around thinking that it's bad to have money or that money is bad. We have to heal that wound as well. The money is the root of all evil. How many of us have heard that? Please raise your hand. Like, that is a wound. Money is not evil. Money is energy. It is energy. And energy exchange is a real thing. I wish sometimes, when people comment on my posts about my retreats being so much money, and it's like, No, my retreats aren't so much money. Do you go to the people who work at Carnival Cruise Line and say your cruise is too expensive? No, because you have to pay for what you are receiving. If there's any imbalance in giving and receiving, that is going to affect your energetic field. So, no, my retreats are not expensive. Do you not have the money for them right now? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. But for a trip to Sedona or to Salem, I promise you, I should charge more so that, you know, everybody thinks like when you're an influencer, you're just making all this money. And it's like, you know, that just might be an illusion as well. You know, not that you can't make money, but it's there, you're seeing a lot of people's wounds come right up front and center. And I can tell you over the years, like my spiritual training, I've put, you know, what people pay for a training they get with me that is $333, I paid $4,000 for. In just one training alone, $4,000. My initiation alone was $777. And believe me, I had a lot of abundance wounds to work through as I was doing those things, but I knew with everything in me that those things were what I needed to be doing. And I knew with everything in me, Spirit would provide, and Spirit did. And so, you know, people try to make me feel bad by saying things online, and I'm like, no, you know, I could easily charge $10,000 for what I'm doing at our retreats because I see what other people are doing at their retreats. And I promise you guys, like, I am about equal energy exchange because I believe in it. So it's not just about thinking positively, it's about changing the way you think about money. It's changing the way you think about energy and energy exchange between people. Like we have this concept that people that are gifted spiritually are just supposed to give everything away. And I don't know where that came from because in the days of old, like the herbalists, the healers, the medicine women, they were taken care of by their community. You might not have paid them, but they were taken care of if you didn't pay them. That makes sense. So there was an energetic exchange. So some way in our, I don't even know how I got in the topic of money, but because it's an energy that we demonize, I guess. So, and how to think positively. It's like, don't be what you aren't. So I would never tell you to think positively if you don't feel positively. What I would tell you to do is heal the wound. Heal the wound that prevents you from thinking positively. Because I don't like fake. I hate fake and I don't like secrets. I'm about telling all the secrets. Ironically, the cheaper something is, more people try to get out of it. What does that mean? The cheaper something is, the more people try to get out of it. I don't understand that. Yeah, Tara, we're not supposed to give it away. Yeah, people want something for nothing, 100%. I'll trade my kidney. The right people are ready for it. We'll always be there. And you know, that is 100% true. Your courses are incredible. I'm glad you're enjoying them. I think you are, like, and you aren't even in the big course, so I'm glad you like it. So your trip to Salem cost you between $2,000 and $3,000 for everything. So what would you expect a retreat to cost you, where you're getting a cloak, a broom, an amulet, 4 nights of guided ceremony, guided tours to every place in Salem. Meals are provided, and not just cheap meals, they are organic vegan meals. I mean, yeah. I have an altar. I have many altars. Money is energy exchange, yes. Tara, does that make sense? I think when our reality has been denied to us, and I know Tara grew up in a church, so I'll say this because I grew up in a church as well. Those of us that knew we were different growing up, like meaning we didn't agree with the church that we were raised in, we felt so misunderstood. I feel like as adults, we're constantly saying, does that make sense? Because it was programmed into us that what we said didn't make sense to people. And so we're always like questioning, am I making sense to you? Oh, you can get my hat on my website, mysticwitch.com. Or there's a link in my bio. Slow day, no patients. That's good when there's no patients in a hospital. I mean, that means people are healthy, right? And happy. What do I think about doing? Sorry, sometimes they move so fast. I'm like, during a Holy Week. So I don't believe in Holy Weeks, 1. 2, I really am trying to get better, early on when I was live and stuff, and even in my courses, I blanket term things. I call it blanket terming them because it's like, it's too much of a conversation to talk about. One of those being like, I don't curse or hex. Well, I started doing the craft by cursing and hexing. So I say I don't curse or hex because 99.9% of the time I do not. Will I if push comes to shove? 100%. But also that goes along with eclipse season. So I don't believe it is a holy week. I do not believe anything that the church puts out there. So this week is no different than any other week for me. Anyway, oh, my brain's going everywhere. The left-handed path, don't recommend. I want you to think about what we call the left-handed path. Think about what you're calling it. The left-handed path. What does the left represent? The feminine. So I'll leave you with that. Anyway, yes, the feminine. So why are we denying the feminine path? Just something to think about. What was I talking about before I seen that? It's like, it's hard to have your brain like be like, poof, poof, poof. Oh, blanket terming. What else do I blanket term other than hexing and cursing? There was a question someone asked that, oh, eclipse season. So this time may be considered holy to witches because it's an eclipse. And I do not do any spell casting on eclipse season, which I don't cast spells. I would, to some extent, I am casting spells, but I'm very careful around what I do during eclipse season. So if it's a lunar eclipse, I am release, let go. So any ritual I do, even though I say don't do rituals, I say that because most witches are not energetically aligned and in no way healed. And so with that said, thank you, Margie. if you try to cast spells and interject your will during a time that the goddess, your higher self, are supposed to be taking the wheel and flipping your car around and heading it a different direction when you're going west and your higher self's like, go east. That's what eclipses do. They come in to flip things around and head you in a different direction. So that's why when I blanket term and say don't do spell work, it's because you can cause yourself unneeded chaos. However, if you are in a line with the energy that is in motion, which is the eclipse, when it is a lunar eclipse, you can assist yourself by burning papers writing down what you want to release. That's just clearing the road for what you want to do. So with that said, on a solar eclipse, I would do a road opener spell, because again, you're inadvertently opening it up for whatever your higher self wants you to manifest. So I really like to surrender to divine will during eclipses, because this is a time that is what the energy is trying to do for you. It's trying to get you to let go. So instead of heading straight into a car accident you don't see, Spirit's going to turn you around and head you this way. So you don't have to go through the next 3 years of your life with a whiplash wound or something, for example. So that's what's happening during eclipse season. There are immense signs coming in from your higher self during eclipse season. So it's like, when I say don't do spell work, it means get your ego out of the way. So getting your ego out of the way allows your higher self to start manifesting more of what you want. So thank you, Marjorie, for pinning my info up there. Thank you guys for liking the live. Do you guys want me to cast a circle before I go today, or do you want to just keep chatting? I know last time I was live, thank you for being here, Amy. Last time I was live, I forgot to cast a circle. I don't even know where my head was. I always cast a circle every time I'm here. So I'm thinking I really want to make sure. Okay, Michelle, Celtic Queen, I would love to cast a circle for everyone that is here if you guys want to do that. Amy, my heart is with you as you're going into surgery tomorrow. All right, so if we are going to cast a circle, I'm going to change the music, and you guys know the routine. If you don't, find a quiet place that you can be a part of this, whether you're sitting or lying down, somewhere where you will be undisturbed. Turn off any TVs, things like that. I'm going to change the music really quick. We'll cast a circle, and I invite you, as I'm casting the circle, if I say, bless us as we call your name, and then I will say Hecate, I'll repeat that goddess's name 2 more times after that. I invite you to repeat their name with me. So if I say, bless us as we call your name, Hecate, I invite you to say Hecate, Hecate. So as a witch, I cast a circle of both empowerment and protection. So it really is tradition in Wicca to cast your circle for protection. My circle is specifically protection and empowerment, because I believe that the circle not only protects you, but you are raising the cone of power as you are invoking this sacred circle. And when I cast this circle, it's like moving through a guided meditation. Just know that I cast it with the intent that the circle will be open. You will be in a higher plane of consciousness until you lie your head down to rest tonight, to sleep, when the circle will be open, but it will never be broken. So traditionally, you cast a circle when you are doing spell work, but you also have the ability to cast a circle like you would say a prayer. And you do that to invite that protective energy and energy of empowerment into your life. It's a bit different than casting a circle of only protection, because if you're casting a circle of protection, you must be inside that circle, the actual planes of that circle, and you would cut a doorway and you would be doing your spell work inside that circle. The circle that I am casting is a circle that moves with you throughout your day, that both protects you and empowers you. And so it is invoking the archetypal energies it is conjuring the energies of these different deities and their aspects of the deities that exist within you, and they create a circle around you. So it will be like you are walking around for the rest of your day in this higher plane of consciousness while your feet are still firmly on the earth. And while you walk, everywhere you turn, in the north will be Hecate. Behind you in the south will be Anya. Maybe you're facing Anya in the south and behind you is Hecate. But you're going to have the deities that we invoke. Their energies will be walking around with you. It's almost like you're walking around with these bodyguards around you. And by casting this circle daily is something that I do. I believe that is partially why, wherever I am, whatever I am doing, people can feel my energy as I walk up, because I have invoked and conjured the energies of all these aspects of self. So if you are ready to do this circle casting for protection, go ahead and get ready. I'm going to change the music. All right. So we're going to be casting this sacred circle. I'll just invite you to join me if you want to be a part of this. Closing your eyes. You can be lying down or sitting up. So I'm just going to invite you to gently scan your body, beginning at the tips of your toes, moving all the way up your legs. Just noticing how every part of your body feels right now, noticing where there's tension, where there's tightness, and where there's ease. Moving up through the belly, into the heart, the shoulders, the hips, the arms, the hands, the neck, throat, the jaw, the forehead, the back of the head, and the crown. So deeply inhaling as you seal your lips, pulling the air in through your nose, and bringing your awareness all the way to the tips of your toes as you inhale. So seeing that breath move not only into the lungs and the diaphragm, but into every part of your body, all the way to the fingertips, all the way to the toes. Hold at the top. Take in one more breath and then soften your shoulders. Notice what it feels like to be full of life force. Now allow your lips to part and audibly let go, pressing all of the air out of your body, using the push, the press, the strength of your abdominal muscles to expel every last drop of breath. And then inhaling again, sealing the lips, pulling the breath in a little quicker this time. Fill the entire body up with your breath, holding at the top. This exhale will be a loud, audible exhale to release all of the tension, tightness, and dis-ease in the body. Exhale. Again, expelling all the breath through the tightening of the abdominal muscles. Push every last drop of exhale out, and then inhale. Feel the air move in through the nostrils, through the throat, expanding the heart, expanding the belly, expanding every part of you. Hold at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your mouth, let go. And just letting your breath reset back to a nice natural rhythm and pace. And begin to pay attention to the feeling of your skin touching the air. Beginning to notice the energetic body and the physical body. So when you reset your breath back to neutral, you're inviting that energetic body, that tingling you feel around your hands, around your arms, your side body, wherever you feel your spirit, your energy body. Outside of your body, you're going to invite that in through softening your breath and surrendering to the earth beneath you. So just allowing your body to become very, very heavy, releasing the holding or the tightening of the belly, the holding and the tightening of the hips and the legs. Your jaw may be tight or tense, your shoulders. Even letting your eyes relax, softening into the sockets, and letting the hands become limp. As I call forth concentric circles of light, I conjure these concentric circles of light to surround all that are taking part in this casting of circle, this casting of protection, this casting of empowerment. Call forth these concentric circles of light to surround us now, noticing their color without attachment, just witnessing this spinning of this sacred circle that moves from close within your body to wide outside your body. Taking note of this color and what it makes you feel without thinking about it. I call forth the guardians of the watchtowers of the north, south, east, and west to watch over, to witness the casting of this sacred circle and all those who are taking part in the casting of this sacred circle. Our intent is that this circle remain open and uplifted and empowered and protected until each person lies their head down to rest tonight. And when they do so, the circle for each one of us individually will be open but never broken, knowing that we are one energetically yet sovereign individual beings. Guardian of the North, Keeper of Earth, I conjure and call upon the spirits of Earth. I call upon the Keeper of the Crossroads. I call upon the Mother of Witches. I call upon the one that holds the candle, the flicker of light in the darkness. I call upon the deity, the goddess, the witch of witches, the keeper of the crossroads of our lives. Bless us as I call your name. Hecate, Hecate, Hecate. Guardian of the Northeast, Keeper of the rising sun and the sacred wells, keeper of the golden light, the awakening fire within our hearts and within our solar plexus. Bless us as we call your name, Bridget, Bridget, Bridget. Guardian of the East, keeper of air, I conjure and call upon the sacred spirits of air. I'm hearing the whistling of the wind, being invited to sit in silence for a moment, listening to the quiet whispers of life force. I call upon she of 10,000 spells. I call upon she of 10,000 names. I call upon mother of mothers. I call upon priestess of Egypt. I call upon she who is a weaver of weavers in her knot magic. I call upon she who arises and shows herself with wings expanding wide. And I see her coming to all those who are partaking in this circle, and she is moving her fingertips up your spine, and as she does so, she expands her wings, moving from your shoulder blades out around your body, awakening your energetic field with these wings of light. Bless us as we call your name, Isis, Isis, Isis. Guardian of the Southeast, keeper of sovereignty, keeper of the wisdom of the throat chakra, the power of our voice, the power of our sacred no and our sacred yes. She who acknowledges the power of sovereignty and free will within all. Bless us as we call your name, Rhiannon, Rhiannon, Rhiannon. Guardian of the South, keeper of fire, I conjure and invoke the spirits of fire. Queen of the Fae, she who knows love is the way, invoking and igniting the desire and the passion of each one of us who is casting this sacred circle today, awakening your sacred love. The love of who you are is not something you give, but something you are, she is reminding us today. Awakening your righteous rage in the face of injustice, and allowing that to be the energy of empowerment to be the love that you are, to never turn away from who you are. Bless us as we call your name, Anya, Anya, Anya. Guardian of the Southwest, keeper of mysteries, keeper of hidden stories, hidden truths, keeper of the thread, the red thread that exists between the feminine. She who has woven her aspects of self within the psyche of all women and divine feminine, of all those identifying as feminine, identifying as women. She has held her women, her mystery here within this red thread that exists between us, pulsing her story of truth, awakening your story of truth. She of 1,000 roses, she, priestess of priestess, bless us as we call your name. Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. Guardian of the West, keeper of water, I conjure and invoke the elements and spirits of water. Keeper of the cauldron, keeper of alchemy, keeper of your sacred emotions. She who works with the spirit of water, of all the dualities that exists within water. She awakens your inner child. She awakens your inner mother. She awakens your inner wise woman. She awakens the witch within you. She is not afraid to be all of who she is. Bless us as we call your name. Caradwyn, Caradwyn, Caradwyn. Guardian of the Northwest, weaver of sacred circles, queen of witches, we invoke thee to weave this sacred circle sealed. We invoke thee, queen of the oppressed, she who holds the keys to the bridge between heaven and earth, she who shares the magic within our sacred circle, the wisdom channeled within this circle pours in. Bless us as we call your name, Aradia, Aradia, Aradia. From beneath us, we call forth our loving Earth Mother. We call forth the ancestors that walk with us in a good way, the ancestors of bone and blood. We call you forth. Call forth the ancestors of the witches that walk with us, who walked with us before. From the earth realm, we call forth the Fae, the elementals, and the gnome. From above us, we call forth the star brothers and sisters watching over us, connecting to the home of our soul, where the seeds of all the star brothers and sisters that will one day also join us here on earth watch over. We call your presence forth. Invite you all to bring your hands to your heart and join me as we invoke the presence of your higher self. We call forth the I Am presence of each sovereign individual into their own sacred circle today. We call call forth the spirit guides, those spirit teams that are working with us, the deities, patron deities and goddesses that work with each individual into their individual circle. We call you forth. And as we do so, we lift this circle up, up, up to the 7th and 8th plane of consciousness, where divine knowing and miracles take place. And as we do, our feet are firmly anchored on the earth. We open our channel to receive divine wisdom. We move up to the 7th and 8th plane of consciousness, where divine knowing and miracles take place. We ask that this circle remain open, protected, and expanded, uplifted, until each individual lies their head down to sleep tonight. I invite you all to take a deep inhale, and as we do so, this circle is now sealed, as above, so below, as within, so without. This circle is sealed. It is done, it is done, it is done, and so it is. Blessed be. I invite you all to begin to deepen your breath, keeping your lips sealed. Pulling the breath deep into the lungs, deep into the belly, softening the shoulders, and just gently sighing your breath out. Do this 3 times. Deep inhale. Sighing out your exhale. And then gently, slowly blinking your eyes open with your next inhale. Coming back into this time and space. Here now together. I would love for each of you who join me to share, as we always do, the colors of light that surrounded you at the beginning, sharing them in the chat. Any colors of light you've seen, thank you, Max Joy. Thank you, Imperfectly Perfect. Alfonso, thank you. Oh, Marjorie, I'm so thankful you are here. Thank you, Amy. It is done, so mote it be. Yes. Rose pink, light yellow, purple and blue. I love to see the colors orange and lavender. That's a unique combination. I love it. Silver, ooh, with ribbons of light. Yours was gold. It is done. Thank you. Thank you. Green and blue. So was any feelings, thoughts, emotions coming through? What were you feeling as we cast this circle? Sharing that feeling in the chat with all those, knowing that we were all feeling and tapping into that same energetic thread. Jill, seen aquamarine. Thank you, Michelle. Blessed be. Thank you all that stayed on for this. I know that when we are casting that circle, remaining present during that, it's a commitment. You don't know how long I'm going to be talking for, what's going on. Feeling relaxed and grounded, so protected and blessed, red and blue, light gold. I felt reassured that we'll eventually be well. Yes, safe. So many visuals. I love that. Blessed be. Happy. The heaviness of eclipse season just left. Yes, I felt that too. Like when you're casting that sacred circle, there really is this peace and calm, trees and bridges. Gratitude. Thank you and blessed be. Thank you all for being here, for sharing, for being vulnerable enough to share in the chat what you felt, the colors you've seen. This is something, the casting of your sacred circle, that you can do for yourself every morning before you get out of bed. Yes, it was the pink moon yesterday. You felt reassurance. That's beautiful, because there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. So I'm just going to invite you all to remain in that circle that we cast by keeping your feet firmly anchored to the ground. You know, it's so important that we're grounding and that we're keeping our channel open, that we are being open to receiving the signs in this space of receiving the sign, whether it looked like a mouse, maybe it's a cockroach, maybe, you know, you never know what it is. It might not even be an animal. It may be something somebody says to you. So if you follow me, somebody's asking about recording and replaying. So I usually put a lot of the lives, I take the recording and put them on YouTube. So if you go there, you'll find all the past ones. Yeah, I might download this one. Do you guys think I should download this one? Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Blessed be. Thank you for all the hearts, you guys. Yeah, so you'll find me also on Instagram and on YouTube. The time is 3:33. It's 12:33 here. Oh, I love that. Thank you. So remember the messages that I shared today as you move through your week. Like, it's always our choice to be sovereign in this codependent society. And there is a lot that is trying to stir up fear in the collective. And how we combat that is by remaining grounded. So when you're feeling ungrounded, bring your attention to your feet. Bring your attention to the wood snake who's staying low. Give yourself rest. Give yourself space and time, because we are awakening to many different concepts, and there are parts of us that are growing and expanding this year in huge ways. This year is such a spiritual journey. Like, there is a choice. Just like in 2020, I feel like in my life, 2020 will be one of the years I remember most for my spiritual evolution. You know, while everyone was freaking out, I was driving to Sedona every week to meet with this 80-year-old man to meditate and disconnecting, like wouldn't watch the news. I knew what was going on. But I'm encouraging you to do that for yourself this year. You know, you may not have an 80-year-old man to meditate with, but also that year is when I signed up for that $4,000 training. Like, when I didn't have the money. So you know, during these years where there is so much fear being pushed in your face, that is because there is so much potential for you to awaken and expand and grow. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for all the heart puffs. So keep that in mind every time you feel like you're moving into fear and to overwhelm, is that this is the year you grow. It's one of these years that everything in you is coming online. And if you stay in fear and you stay in anxiety and you stay in overwhelm, that is a choice. Yes, you need to acknowledge what is real, but you also need to acknowledge what appears real isn't always real. Would you be afraid? Would you be overwhelmed if you weren't watching TikTok so much, if you weren't watching the news so much, if you weren't talking to this person or that person? Give yourself rest. Give yourself time to allow the new perspectives and the new ways of being to come online for you. The signs are going to look different for each of us. The abilities awakening in each of us will be completely different than the next person's. The only way you will access these to the extent that is possible for you is by you giving yourself that time. Just like you did today, casting this sacred circle, this is the time. Those of you that are in my classes and actually doing the classes, That is dedicating time to you, time to your awakening, time to what you need. We need to allow these parts of ourself to wake up and to become stronger for what is coming in the future. And don't focus on what is coming in the future. Focus on, this is my time now. If I spend this entire year feeling overwhelmed, then whatever comes in next year, when another dragon, is it in another dragon year next year? I think it is. So it's going to ramp up again next year. Take the time to rest. Take the time to be with your garden. I love the fairies so much. Thank you. Take your time to allow those things to awaken. Put your focus on your growth. And you guys, we actually have one space left for Salem. We thought we had Salem sold out this week. Actually, we did. We have someone that is supposed to be paying us who has not paid us. And so we are going to be opening up that space. So if you wanted to go to Salem and you've seen it sold out this week, it did sell out. The last sister closed the circle, and then we haven't been paid by another circle's our sister. So if you want, that's the only space we have left for a retreat this year. And what else? Oh, Stella and I are going to be holding a course on baneful magic, how to use it, when to use it, why to use it. This is going to be about cord cutting, hexing, cursing, what else? Protection, all of those things that are kind of taboo. We are doing this course on it, and we're doing it this way. The reason Stella and I are doing this course live, just so you know, is because we both have a lot of integrity in our craft, and we've been very hesitant in the past to share this. But we are sharing this course live, knowing that those who are ready for this information, those who will need this information in the future, will be there, and that those who would misuse this information will not be there. So this is this class comes with a lot of intent and knowledge, because honestly, like, the witches of old were using baneful magic. So we can't all love and light the craft, but I also am not going to share with those that are going to misuse, because I don't want to be responsible for someone harming someone with the craft because I held a class that was $33. Like, because that alone will invite a bunch of people not to listen to the whole thing and just to take the actual hexes and curses and cord cuttings that we will share. So if you sign up and you can't make it live, the recording will be available for 30 days, but it's not going to be a course you can buy in the future. No, it's only going to be live through Zoom. And then, of course, it will be made available to all of those that bought the course for 30 days after. So that course starts May 9th, and it will be over a period of 3, I think it's Fridays or Saturdays, depending on where you live. One will be like May 9th, the next one's May 17th. If you look in the link in my bio and click on that link, it'll show you, if you click details, it'll show you like the dates that we're actually meeting, and it'll be 2 to 2.5 hours over 3 different days. So you're gonna get, about 7-8 hours of training with both Stella and I on that aspect of the craft that can be really misused and can bring a lot of harm into your life in the next life if you are not using it right. And just so you know, the reason, I had somebody ask me recently, and part of what invoked, because Stella and I were talking about wanting to do a class together, but we didn't know what that class was. And I had someone reach out to me and say, now that you're working with Lilith over the past few years, do you believe in binding, hexing, and cursing or are you still all love and light? And I was like, I do not feel like I am all love and light. I feel like I am real, and I'm not going to misuse a power that could potentially harm me and other people. So I have very strict, what would I call them? Ways that I practice what is considered baneful magic, what is considered the left-handed path. You know, there are things that we need to think about, like even the term, the left-handed path, like that implies that it's negative or bad, but the left represents the feminine. So, I mean, there are going to be things like that that we awaken you to, and yeah, I am as sweet as pie, but I also can be as fierce as they come. So do not underestimate my kindness underestimate me, or whatever that is they say, underestimate my kindness for weakness, because I know you can feel it. Those who see me can feel it. I actually feel like those who really see me can read between the lines when I'm saying I don't hex and curse, because 99.9% of the time I don't. But when it is needed, there's a reason that Diana gave Aradia the 13 powers of the witch, and one of them being the ability to curse and hex. And she gave it to her during a time when the Roman Empire was oppressing the people. And so after thinking about this and the conversation I had with that friend about me being all love and light, which I do feel like I'm love and light, but I'm also shadow and darkness. I'm all of it, right? And so are you. We all are. And thinking about how that was the time that Diana chose to give Aradia, her daughter, the wisdom of the 13 powers, I realized that, you know, the reason why we couldn't figure out what the class we wanted to do was the one neither one of us have ever done. And that is a course on baneful magic. So we decided, you know, this is the time where we are, as people, the patriarchy is attempting to oppress us again. We're seeing it everywhere. It is everywhere. And so if there ever was a time to share that wisdom, just like Diana did during the oppression of the Roman Empire, or the people of the Roman Empire, like, I believe now is that time to know how to utilize that. And there is a good way to utilize it. And I don't believe it's to go and hex and curse, like I said, at left, right, and center. Like, I believe people are misusing that ability, and guaranteed you're going to come back again and work with those people you are hexing and cursing, because they're going to be things that are unresolved in this lifetime. So anyway, thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. All of the things that I do are on my link tree. My link tree is in the link in my bio. So you'll click the link in my bio. It'll say like, this site is not protected. It's just taking you to my link tree. I will not DM you. So please know that I will not DM you. I have several classes. I have an online virtual coven if you want to connect with me in person or live through the internet. That's why I have my virtual coven. I connect with the women through there. I only have offerings for women right now, as that is my service to the goddess. I have online courses, yearly retreats. Again, we only have one space for this retreat, maybe. It's kind of a weird thing. We're kind of waiting to hear, but if someone takes that spot that is available, then that spot is taken. So that could be you, whoever it is that takes it. And then again, I have all my online classes. We have a group that is stays in touch through Wix Spaces, but you are only invited to that when you take one of my witch school courses, The Way of the Witch, Journey to Me, Yin Yoga, or Practical Magic for the Solitary Witch, or joins the actual coven, where the next time our virtual coven meets through Zoom will be on the 29th of April. We'll be gathering to celebrate Beltane. I have a blog out about the Fae, check that out. I have Weaving Magic Beltane magazine is out. You can find that on my website. There's all kinds of free offerings along with my paid offerings. So just so you know, I offer a lot of free content, so don't feel like if you're not in a place to sign up for one of these things. My magazine is free every Sabbath, and I'm always live every Sunday, majority of the time. If I'm not going to be, I try to let everybody know in my coven. I love you guys so much. I am gonna go drink some water, Marjorie. Thank you for that reminder. I brought the water in here. I took a sip before I cast the circle, but that was it. Thank you for saying that, She-Wolf Tarot. She's actually new to our coven space. Have you introduced yourself in the Wix group? I'm not sure you have yet, so hopefully you will introduce yourself in the group soon. Just so you know, Marjorie and Rebecca and Kelly and Amy are all part of our coven, so whenever you decide to introduce yourself on there, I know we've talked privately, but I know the sisters in there will be so excited to meet you and connect with you. Oh, Erin's on here too. Gingy, are you on here still? You'll do it tonight. Yay! I think Gingy might have left. I haven't heard her say anything in a little while. Heard her say anything, like I hear anything on here. I haven't seen she comes up as Gingy, but if you're on here, Erin is too, but she's also Gingy. I hope you guys follow each other because we need to support each other. And also, like, if you're in my coven and you share your handle with me, I always go and follow you back because you are my sisters. Hello in Denmark. I have a beautiful sister in Denmark, Caroline, who came to our retreat, our Wild Woman retreat last year, and she actually shaved her head just like a couple months ago, and she is this gorgeous woman with this long, like, beautiful hair, and she just shaved it all off. I was like, wow. Anyway, you guys, I've been on here almost 3 hours, so I'm gonna go. I actually bought a catio it's like a mini catio, not like one of the big ones. It's like a mini catio on TikTok, and my husband is out there putting it together, so I'm gonna share a video of it if it worked. And hopefully my cats will be in the catio on my Instagram story. Yeah, and out there with my little mice. They'll be inside the catio, so the mice won't. The mice are on the fairy garden, which is on the other side of the house, so the cats won't hurt them. But I love you guys. Blessed be. Happy Sunday. If you haven't followed me, please go follow me. Check out all my offerings, and I'll see you next week. And I'll probably see you on Tuesday. I think I'll go live. So keep an eye out for me. I love you. Blessed be. Thank you to all my moderators. I appreciate you so, so much. Merry meet Michelle, and blessed be Celtic Queen, and Max Joy, and Kelly, and Amy, and Erin, and Marjorie, and everyone. She-Wolf Tarot. Love you guys, and everyone, even if I didn't mention your name.